And welcome in, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. Welcome to Coast. I am here with my man, Jay, and Pags is on assignment. How you doing, man?
Yeah. No, I'm doing well, man. Not too bad, man. I don't know how it is where you are, but it's been pretty damn hot out here, about in the 90s with the 60% humidity. So we've been sweating out here. I don't know how it's out there in Seattle or Washington for you.
It is, it's funny. We had a week of sun. It gave us this little teaser to then rain all weekend. And so right now it is like low 50s and raining.
Wow.
In fact, we even had a small tornado up in Whatcom County on Saturday. So, I mean, we've just had some bizarre weather, but you know, that's spring in the Northwest. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes and it'll be something else.
I didn't realize you guys got tornado. You don't hear about it very often up there in the north, or at least the Northeast.
Yeah, so we typically don't. We're good for like a little small ones about once or twice a year. Like nothing noteworthy. Where we get is we'll get some coastal airflow that will be really high wind rates, but we won't get tornadoes. We'll just get crazy windstorms. That's usually in the winter, though.
So we got tornadoes in the Northeast. We got earthquakes out in Jersey and New York.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got crazy, massive flood storm systems out of Texas going up your direction, or actually going up towards the Wisconsin direction. So I don't know, man. It's been kind of, what do they call it? The El Nino effect or something like that? La Nina, something like that?
Yeah, I think they call it global warming is what they're really talking about.
Well, God only knows what hurricane season is going to look like. So I guess we got to start preparing for it.
It'll be active because if we're already getting heat like that, the water is going to be hot. So that usually means those storm fronts.
Yeah,
they start.
And they say for every 2 degrees of heat in the water, it increases, I think, 13% on the wind gusts that come off the hurricane. So a Cat 4 could become a Cat 5 just by those 2 or 4 degrees worth of, and that's what they're saying right now. The waters are actually 2 degrees 2 degrees warmer than what they typically are. So let that sink in.
I think we're going to have kind of a wicked summer. Like down there, obviously there's going to be a lot of hurricanes, and here in the Northwest, because we didn't get a lot of snow this winter and it's been real wet as far as the spring, summer, we're probably going to have a ton of forest fires. Because you're going to get all this growth, it's going to dry out and die. And we didn't have the snowpack to kind of slow the growth.
Yeah.
So I would bet money that by the middle of summer, you guys are hearing about all the fires in the Northwest, whether it's Washington, Canada, like this whole corner is probably going to be on fire.
God.
So at least we have that to look forward to. But on a happier note, our Mariners are still leading our division, sweeping the Rangers, and taking an 8.5 game lead over the Rangers. Got a 9-game lead over your Houston Astros. Wow. Although your Stros are coming along.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. This is such a weird season for the Stros. They'll show signs of really, really good baseball. And then signs of just really terrible baseball. I think they got blew out 13 to something just a couple of days ago. And then, of course, they come out last night and Blanco goes 7 innings of no-hit baseball. And, yes, he did do it without the sticky stuff. So I know Frankie's going to say, well, what about the sticky stuff? No, he had no sticky stuff. They examined him thoroughly, and he did well. And then Presley came in, gave him a couple of hits. But ultimately, we did get the win over the Tigers. So it's really kind of weird, Bo. You know, we win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I'm just waiting for, 2 more games to get strung along, and then maybe I can call it a streak.
Yeah, that 13-5 game was rough. Oh, I didn't realize that was just one day ago. I thought that was the beginning of the Tigers series. So
I was literally like a day ago because when I turned on, my stomach got violently ill.
I bet. When and they did it early. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that game, but yeah, they had 10 runs by the 3rd inning.
Yeah, they got them on quick and often. And that's the thing, though. I mean, our pitching has just been all over the place. I mean, our run support hasn't really been too bad. I mean, we can average about 5 to 6 runs a game. So we're not doing bad in the run side of it. It's just the pitching. And our pitching, well, I mean, we had, a couple of guys go down with elbow injuries. I think Javier went down and Frombers had issues with his elbow. So, we've had – it's hard. We were talking about that in pre-show. We were talking about great pitching and how it can help you, and versus lack of run support, which is kind of where your Mariners are. It's almost like we're the opposite of the Mariners. You guys got the pitching and we got the hitting, and so, and obviously you can see who's doing better. The pitching, like I told you, that pitching, if you got good pitchers and just a little bit of good run support, you should be fine. And you guys are like 8.5 over the Rangers. So
yeah, as it sits right now, I think they have the second or third best pitching in the league for the Mariners. Right. So, I mean, that end of the ball, they're killing it. I am really hoping they go and find a bat at the trade deadline, because that'll let us know if they're trying to win this year or if they're just happy keeping
absolutely
the stands, right?
Yeah.
Now, over recent history, and by recent history, I mean the last, 20 years, is they're pretty content with just keeping fans in the stands, not necessarily trying to spend money and win. So I hope we see a change in that this year, because as far as the pitching is concerned, this is one of their best years in recent memory. So if we can get some run support, this is a team that could potentially do something in the postseason.
Right. And that's the thing, right? So when I look at like my Astros, for example, and we're talking about trade deadline, for you guys, trading at the trade deadline makes absolute 100% sense, because like you said, you're right there. I mean, you're in first, you're going to most likely be in the playoffs, and so that just that little bit of run support could really catapult you over, like, let's say the Yankees or Baltimore.
There's a lot of baseball left. Let's not say that.
I don't want to put a jinx on you, but I do want to put a jinx on you, because quite honestly, right? I hope you. If I had some chick, hold on a minute, hold on, just hold that thought. I want to show you something. Hold that.
Oh, I know some nonsense is coming now.
Hold that. I took a recent trip down in New Orleans, and after the Astros were really getting their butts kicked and the Mariners were really doing well, and I came up with this bad boy.
Oh, you got a voodoo doll?
And I got the pin.
Oh,
all man. I'm saying is, Bo, if you don't mind, could you just send me a couple of pictures of your pitchers? I just need a couple of pictures of your pitchers to put right there, and
you do
then
realize
maybe I'll actually have an opportunity to get that win. So Bo,
I'm 100% grabbing a screenshot of that and then photoshopping a trash can in his hand.
Yeah, I was sleeping last night and my wife had this over me, and she was doing some cantations, and she was multiply stabbing it.
How's it going, Win?
Hey, I appreciate that, Win. Hey, Win, I need you to join with me. We're going to do some massive voodoo, and I've got the pin, and if you need one this Win, I will certainly mail you one. Just give me your address, and we'll do some voodoo on the Seattle Mariners, and get these Astros back where they need to go. So I just thought I would show you that, Bo, that if you start seeing your Seattle Mariners go downhill, just know Jason's probably doing some voodoo.
There's something wrong with you, man.
Other news.
I mean, your team is starting to turn it around, though. I mean, and
they are.
An easy series coming up. You got the White Sox for the next 3. Although you'll need to take all 3 of those, because then you go on to play the Orioles, which are no cakewalk.
Absolutely not. You're absolutely correct. I mean, like I said, that division is just the division as a whole is playing extremely well, and that's why I feel like the Astros got to get first, because I don't think we're going to be able to get a wild card in there because of how well that division is doing. So, like I said, you guys trade at the trade deadline makes a lot of sense. If the Astros don't really start getting some serious streaks together and closing that gap, between now and the trade deadline. I don't know if it makes sense for the Astros to trade because, quite honestly, we're pretty far down.
I would imagine, especially if you guys slide at all, right? Because you've played decent over the last couple of weeks, but if you fall back off for whatever reason, I would bet that you guys are sellers at the deadline.
Yeah,
because nobody ever stays pat, right? They're either trading something away to try and get something for next year, right? Because the trade deadline essentially at that point is, are we making a push or are we calling it a year, right? And when it comes to especially our division, you're either winning to get in the playoffs or you're not in the playoffs because the East and the Central they're just too much better. The divisions are way better. So we're going to get one team in the playoffs and that's it. If you guys fall much further behind, I would imagine that's where you guys become sellers at the deadline for sure. Absolutely. But I don't know. I mean, the next few weeks, that'll be the real telltale signs as you get close to closer to that trade deadline and the halfway point.
And I'll tell you, if we are going to be sellers, I really hope they, can get some really good draft picks out of it because that's really what we need. We need some draft picks to build up our farm to bring up those future guys. I would much rather see them get draft picks, you know what I'm saying, and try to grow organically with some good players than maybe go out and try to get another top caliber guy, but he's going to be a little older. I'd rather see them, build that farm system or continue to build that farm system back up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that what you'd get as far as draft picks are concerned, but you might be able to pick up some of the minor league prospects that are already out there.
That's what I meant. I apologize. I meant minor league prospects. And if they can get it picked, that'd be great. But if they can get some prospects out of it, I mean, our farm system. Obviously, we there was a few drafts that we were eliminated from because of 17. So we really lost a lot. For sure. So we really do need to restock. We got a couple of guys in our system that are not bad. We got one guy in there. I can't remember his name right offhand, but he had like 5 doubles in a game. I mean, he's been doing really well. And I cannot remember. I was looking at it yesterday when they were talking about the farm system. I can't remember his name, but we got a couple of guys, but we really need a lot of pitching prospects in there.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need more consistent pitching, and more than anything, you need more consistent closers.
Yeah.
There's some games you guys have lost that your starting pitchers were actually doing all right, and you just couldn't finish the game.
Well, and middle relief too. We've given up a lot, like around inning 6 and 7. That's what we've given up a lot of runs, like a lot.
Yes.
So absolutely.
You guys go from competitive play to an inning and a half of batting practice, and then you're trying to make your closer squeak something out with guys already on base. I mean, it's not really a recipe for success. Obviously, it has gotten better over the last 2 weeks, really.
Right. And that's really what hurt us when we let go of Stanek and when we let go of Hector Neris and didn't re-sign those guys. That's really where we felt it at, which again is inning 6 and 7 is typically when Neris or Stanek would come in. And when we lost both of those guys, which are really, incredibly good relievers, that really, we're really feeling the effect of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's and then of course, when we're looking further around the league, the Phillies are tied for second still.
Yeah.
So the Phillies are still playing good baseball. The Orioles have crept back up there. They're a game and a half behind the Yankees, which again, they have the same record as the Phillies. So those are going to be fun battles to watch as the year goes on here, because obviously those teams are all going to be in the playoffs. Like there's no question.
When I see a team like the Dodgers, look at a team like the Dodgers. They're really kind of going with some things. They just put Yamamoto, who has a 2.92 ERA. I mean, great, doing well, and they put him on the 15-day IL. And then you got Mookie Betts, who just got hit in the hand. They broke his hand. He's going to be out for at least a few months.
Yeah, I mean, a broken hand. He's going to miss. He's going to miss every bit of 8 weeks, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. A 98-mile-an-hour fastball fractures the hand. Rough way to go down.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel that bad for the Dodgers though, because I mean, they're
Yeah.
just out there shelling out cash to pay for a team. So
Right.
if they come up short, I'm not mad at it.
I mean, I'm not mad at it either. Trust me. I mean, I'm not. But we were talking about that, just the other day. The high payrolls versus the lower payrolls, and in terms of chances to get to the. And I think this is an example. Like you said, typically, with the money, you would be up there, and you can still be. I mean, the Dodgers can still be up there if they can find enough money to give some other guy, but. And that, I guess that really is where it helps you. I mean, if you take on those injuries, if you had the money to bring in the backups, I could see that. I understand kind of where you guys were making that point. And I also see sometimes we have all that money and then those injuries. I mean, injuries just happen sometimes. And you aren't able to find that one guy that can get you back over the hump. So it kind of could go either way, really.
Well, I mean, if you have one, then how can I say my voodoo? I mean, if you were on my Facebook, you'd be able to drop it in the comments there. That's
pretty good. I like that.
But yeah, no.
Oh, he has a voodoo doll.
Yeah,
I wonder if he got it from the same lady.
Maybe. Yeah. Where did you get yours? I know you got it in New Orleans, but where did you actually buy it?
Oh, God, I don't even
that are
remember.
here that are trying to put hexes on other people's teams.
Hey, the funny thing about it was, I mean, this is like 9 years ago, so I don't remember the name of the place, but we were going down the street. And if you ever go through New Orleans, especially, and I don't know if they do it during baseball. When I went through New Orleans, it was actually during football season. And when you go through New Orleans, you'll see on the fences, they'll actually put voodoo dolls on the fence of the team that they're playing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And that's how I thought about it. I said, man, that'd be a good idea. So when we got to the end of the street, there was a I don't know what you call that kind of a place, but it was like a magical place, whatever you want to call it, right? And we went in there and they had all kinds of different, I guess, witchcraft or whatever you want to call it. And they had a bunch of voodoo dolls all over the place. And I made the crack. I said, I should get me one. And then the ex-wife said, yeah, why don't you? So I went ahead and snagged one up. It's called Swamp Witch is actually, I guess, the name of it. But
that's amazing.
That was actually, because it had like a little tag on it. It says Swamp Witch. And then when you open up the little thing, whatever, you can read on there and it tells you how to actually perform the voodoo. So it tells you get a picture, you put a picture on it, and you say a couple of things about it, and then you start stabbing where you want to stab it. I did it a couple of times. I think it works. So maybe we'll try it again this way. So, again, Bo, I just need a couple of pictures. It don't have to be a lot, just a couple.
I'm just going to randomly throw your pictures at you with a Mariners hat on it. All of a sudden, all your starting pitchers start going down.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I don't know who this guy is. We'll just stab him anyway. But there are some really. I mean, so you got the Dodgers, that look, still look really good, honestly. And then you got the Phillies, you got the Yankees, you got Baltimore. I mean, that's 4 really just amazing teams right there. Like, who do you really just feel strongly about that could go all the way? If you, I know this is early predictions, but
yeah, I mean,
it's who you have a good fit, and the Mariners. I don't leave out the Mariners and the Guardians too as well. So those.
The Guardians are playing good. It's funny because realistically, if I was looking at the way teams are playing, I could actually see this year it being the Phillies and the Orioles.
You can see the Phillies and Orioles. I mean, yeah,
because I like how the Orioles are winning. Because they've been able to win a bunch of different ways. They've won with pitching. They've won playing small ball. They've had games where they've just been yanking it out of the park, and that's worked. So, I mean, they have a very complete team. So although they don't necessarily have the best record in the league, I like the way they're playing ball right now. So I could see them getting all the way. The Phillies, I mean, they're probably the best team in the NL.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do like, obviously the Dodgers have paid a lot of money, so they're going to be in the mix. And I like that the Brew Crew is finally, where we were talking about before the season started of potentially winning this division. So, they're in the lead of it now. They're actually up, like 6.5 games, something like that. 6.5.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're coming on. This is the time of year where you're going to start to see the teams that are real and the pretenders kind of separate a little bit.
Yeah. I always, but it seems like for me, that All-Star break for me is a telltale. Whoever comes out of that All-Star break, with really good momentum, those are the ones, right? They're still riding that wave, because I know a lot of times I've seen teams. I mean, I use the Yankees, for example. Remember that season? I think maybe it was 2021 where they were just red hot. I mean, they had the best record in baseball. You couldn't beat them. They were just, it was lights out. And then maybe like a week before All-Star break, you started to see them kind of taper down a little bit. And then when they came out of the All-Star break, then they really tapered down. I know Houston, I believe we tied the series with them going into the All-Star break, and then we swept them out of the All-Star break in that double hitter. And so, yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, this is way early. I mean, and really the best team in baseball a lot of times doesn't even win the World Series. I mean, look at the Rangers last year. They weren't the best team in baseball, but, they took the series.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the case in most sports, really.
Absolutely.
But what you're talking about with the All-Star break is actually what I worry about with the Mariners. Is the All-Star break, for whatever reason, has long been a real issue for the Mariners. They'll go into it, like usually they start off slow, then they kind of come on. They're heading into the All-Star break. They're in the mix, right? They may not necessarily be leading the division, but they're right there. Right. And then the All-Star break happens and they forget how to play baseball for 3 weeks. I mean, they'll lose every series, probably get swept a couple of times. And then you're like, okay, now it's back to an uphill battle. They're 10 games out of it and they'll battle back, and then they'll just run out of time. And as soon as they're mathematically out, they'll go on a run. They'll miss the playoffs by a game or two. And so that's the formula that we've watched this Mariner team have for 21, 22 years outside of the year before last when they finally got back in the playoffs. But, that's why I'm still kind of cautiously optimistic is, I want to see how they come out of the All-Star break, because that is a very real question for the Mariners historically. And if they can come out and kind of keep rolling, awesome. I got to see it to know they can do it.
Really believe it.
Right. So yeah, the All-Star break is always a spot of worry for me, just because for whatever reason, they really haven't been good coming out of it. If they can come out and play 500 ball, would be awesome.
Right.
Oh, okay. You dropped it on Twitter. Nice. I will check that out when. That sounds hilarious.
Drop it on Twitter, Bo. And that's the thing. Like, when you look at our division, and unless the Rangers and Astros just heat up, I mean, I don't think the division is going to be your issue. I think the issue is going to be, like you said, when you got to go up against, the other divisional teams, like, God forbid if you had to play with the Orioles or the Yankees or, Guardians. I mean, I think that's when the real test for the Mariners would start. So there you go. There it is. That's definitely not a swamp witch. I'm not sure which one that one is, but that's interesting.
That's a good one, though. It's a good one.
That is a good one. Voodoo in a bowl.
That's right.
Call it. A bowl of voodoo.
I like the one big eye. That is fantastic. But yeah, so I mean, this MLB series season moving forward is actually going to be kind of fun to watch, because the teams at the top are playing incredibly well. But again, that All-Star break can definitely be that disruptor, because everybody gets a few days off, and teams that are on a roll have a tendency to fall off. Teams that are not, they're looking for that gap to get back online. Sometimes it can be that. So, hopefully for the Mariners, they can just kind of keep rolling. But or if the Astros just want to like tank, that'd be fine too.
Well, the last time we tanked was 3 years of hell, but then we came out of it pretty good. So I don't know, man. If it works once, maybe it'll work twice for us. I don't know. I just think our pitching is just in such disarray right now with injuries, man. I mean, we still haven't seen Luis Garcia back, and I don't think we're going to see Luis Garcia till next year. We had that Tommy John surgery during last season, so I would imagine we won't get him back till next year. So I'm not really expecting too much out of the Astros, to be honest with you. I just don't think we had the pitching right now to really do anything effectively. So I'm not really. But I like Blanco. I like some of the things that are coming out of it. So we can team up Blanco with Luis Garcia next year. If Fromber can kind of get back into some of that a little bit. I mean, we could, and I don't know what Verlander's going to do. I don't know if he's coming back next year, if he's retired next year. I mean, he's obviously he's kind of older now. So
I was going to say he's got to almost be done at this point, right?
I mean, he does. But you know what? I mean, he's still he's an effective pitcher. He's not a dominant pitcher, but he's an effective pitcher now. But I don't know
if he wanted to stay, wanted to stay in the league, he needs to be that middle reliever guy because he still has stuff, and I think he could be highly effective for 2-3 innings.
Oh, absolutely.
I just don't think he's a starter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even at Smoltz at the end of his career, he switched over to being a closer, and then he was really good as a closer.
Yeah,
up until he finally did retire.
That's the way.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions, in our pitching staff and what we're going to do. I mean, Hunter Brown, he's still kind of left or right. I'm not really 100% on him yet. JP France, same way. I mean, we got some okay guys, but we don't have that dominant Suarez or somebody of that nature, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that gets us to the halfway point here. We're going to do our station break, and then on the back side of it, we're going to talk some football. So we will see you in a couple of minutes.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on the 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region. And now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates unique and much needed opportunities for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. In your national program, you'll see national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is it.
All right. right, and welcome back. Our show is brought to you in part by True Fusion Gyms here in the Seattle area. They have locations in Bellevue, Ballard, and their brand new one in University Village. They do have a, where's my slide? Here we go. They do have a free 5-day pass. If you scan the code on your screen right there, you can get into the gym for 5 days. Check the places out, whether you are Pilates, yogi, bar, boot camp, all of that. If that's what you're into, be sure to check out this offer and find your edge at True Fusion Gym. All right. Okay, so we had a UFL Championship, and man, the Brahmas didn't show up. There was only one team that decided to play football on that day. It started out not too bad. They had, it was a lot of defense to start, kind of ugly play a little bit, but then it really kind of turned where the Stallions took over and the Brahmas, I guess, were ready to go home. You catch any of that game?
No, honestly, I was watching the Astros game, so I didn't catch too much of that game. But I did see that they had won, and I was like, "Wow, Birmingham, huh? Okay,
yep,
okay,
yep.
Little Birmingham. Hey, I don't understand. I don't know. I've never been to Birmingham. I got to be honest. I've passed through Alabama several times. Never actually been through Birmingham, so I don't really know how big Birmingham is. To me, it doesn't sound like a very big place, though.
Yeah, no, it's not huge for sure. It's funny though, because they did win back-to-back before these leagues merged, right. And now they get the first one overall with this new league. But I was really hoping for a much better game to kick this new league off. I was really hoping for a highly contested battle the whole way through. And through the first quarter, it looked like it was going to be a very, prominent defensive battle. There's a lot of, 3 plays and a punt type of thing. And then second half comes around. There's some turnovers, a couple of questionable plays in the quarterback for the Brahmas slides just before the sticks on a 3rd and short, making a business decision instead of, trying to get in and make this a game again. Ultimately gets shut out of this championship game. So it wasn't a good watch. We'll put it that way.
No, not at 25-0.
Exactly. They left something to be desired. So that
I kind of stopped. I didn't really watch a whole lot of the UFL. I'm obviously a Houston Roughnecks, and
sure,
our team was just so bad. That I actually stopped watching because I just couldn't bear to watch another Roughnecks game, to be honest with you. So I kind of slowly stopped watching it just because my team was just terrible.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it was a rough. They had a rough season, to say the least. So I guess if we transition over into the NFL, we did touch on it a little bit last week, but Trevor Lawrence gets his money, and I think it's an overpay, right? $55 million a year seems way too much for a guy that has similar numbers to Mac Jones. But at the same time, it begs to question, what is Dallas doing with your guy now? Because that guarantees he's getting at least 60 because he's had far more success than Trevor Lawrence. And he's already a $60 million cap hit next season. Is he on your team next year?
Yeah, and especially with our already very tight cap space situation that we already are in. Do I think he gets paid? Yeah, I think Jerry's going to wind up paying him. Do I think he should get paid? No.
So you think he remains a Cowboy?
I think he will. One thing about Jerry, he rode Romo forever.
He liked
Romo. And he rode, and I think he's gonna ride Dak as long as he can ride Dak.
Yeah. The thing is he didn't pay him last time, made him prove it, ultimately had to pay him. He's not paying him again.
Right.
He's gonna make him prove it. If you wait another year, he's getting 65.
Right. And I think one of those cap analysis is in Jerry's ear and probably tell him exactly what you're telling us. You know, hey, look, Jerry, if you wait, you're going to have to pay him more. You might as well lock him up now and get him in. And
Exactly.
I think he will. I think Steven will talk to his dad. I think he'll be like, Dad, hey, we really need to get this guy into contract. Even though, I always say sometimes you got to take a few steps back to take a quantum leap forward. And I wouldn't be upset if they put in the backup Cooper Rush, and let Dak walk, take a crappy year, and then hope, that you'll get a better draft stock and then try to get something in the draft and try to rebuild through the draft. Do I think that's what's going to happen? No, I think they're going to wind up paying Dak, and I think they're going to ride that out. I do.
I mean, I don't know how you can pay him because you still have to figure out CDs and you also have to figure out Micah Parsons. So, I mean, you can't pay all those guys.
No,
and then still have
one of those two guys is going to get franchise tagged. The other one, I don't know. And if I'm Dallas, I'm definitely franchising Micah Parsons. I mean, nothing against CD, but Micah Parsons really is that defense. That really is, he's a generational guy. So I'm definitely paying Micah. And then, like you said, what are you going to do about CD? And that's where it gets a little tough. And maybe. I think he would let CD walk before he lets Dak walk, and maybe you have to franchise Dak. Maybe you're gonna have to pay him that $5 million in order to keep CD. So to say that that's not on the table, this probably is on the table.
Ah, man, talk about paying a lot of money to ultimately have a very bad team. Because if you figure out how to pay all those guys, you're not going to have anything else. Yeah.
And that's why sometimes you got to take a step back. You may have to let go of some guys, take a step back, get back underneath that cap space, nicely under the cap space. And then you have to rebuild from there, and hopefully they'll do it a smarter way and not pay guys like Cooper and Zeke, and give them those big paydays, only to watch Cooper go off to Cleveland and then Zeke, go off to New England, only to come back as an ex-girlfriend.
The best part is I think he was still on your cap hit anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We hey, all they did was sublet Zeke out to New England for a season, and then they brought him back. That's all they did. We sublet over here. Maybe we'll sublet Dak out to somebody. Bring Dak back.
Oh, man.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, where would he go? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe he goes to Washington, or maybe he goes to New York. Maybe Daniel Jones isn't there. We sublet Dak over to New York for a season. We bring him back on a cheaper contract.
There's no way he comes back. If you let Dak walk, he doesn't come back.
Oh, I know. I'm actually just being silly, but then again, I never thought we would see Zeke back. So
yeah, well, there is that. I mean, it's funny because I keep hearing Cowboy fans, and certainly some of the Cowboy like Twitter spaces.
Yeah,
they really are high on Trey Lance, which is wild to me.
But I thought we let go of Trey Lance. I think Dallas got cut loose of Trey Lance.
No, I think he's still on the roster.
Because I thought I had seen a report where they had let him go.
Oh, really? Oh, that would be news to me. I thought he was still.
Let me.
Thought he was still on the roster.
Chart. Let's see who's on the Dallas Cowboys depth chart. Let's see. I'm pulling it up now. Okay, bam. So the quarterback is Dak. Yeah, he is. You're right. Damn, yeah. I could have sworn I saw they had let him go. But okay, so we got Dak, Cooper, and Trey. So maybe they're going to have to cut Cooper Rush, which I think is a terrible idea because Cooper really can still ball. But maybe like you said, and if they want to keep Dak, they got to create cap space somewhere. So maybe they cut Cooper, move up Trey, and use some of that money either towards Dak or towards CeeDee Lamb. One of them's going to have to get franchise tagged, right?
And I think you lose Cooper Rush regardless because, after this season, Dak's contract is up. After this season, Cooper and Trey Lance, all three of those guys, their contracts are up.
Right.
So, I mean, they have some pretty crazy decisions to make coming into this year. You potentially go into next year without a quarterback on the roster.
Right. Yeah, and let me ask you: if you're the Giants, and let's say that does come to fruition, where Cooper gets let go by Dallas. If I'm New York, I think I'd jump on that. I think I'd jump on it, bring him in, and then have him compete up against Daniel Jones.
They're missing too many pieces. They are not a quarterback away. They are.
Oh no, absolutely, you're right. No,
they
you're
are
right.
52 guys away from having a 53-man roster. So,
yeah.
No, the team that I've heard that would kick the tires on Dak was Miami. And
really?
That actually makes some sense because you're up against it with having to pay Tua.
Yeah.
Can you pay Tua? Because he's had one good season. Otherwise, he's been hurt. And not just in his NFL career. He's been hurt all through college, all through his NFL career. He's had one good season. Can you bite off a Trevor Lawrence type of contract, which is what he would, which is what it would require to get him or to keep him? Or do you spend a little bit more and get Dak and give Dak all those weapons?
I mean, hell, what if they just worked out a trade and then sent Dak on to Miami, bring Tua over to Dallas, and then Dallas is obviously taking a risk, right? They're going to take a risk on it, but he works for the salary cap. He would work for the salary cap, and God forbid if he does have a good season, then Dallas looks like a winner out of all that.
Well, but Tua's contract comes up at the same time, so it still wouldn't really work. Because you still have next year Dak's cap hit.
Well, yeah.
So Dak has a $60 million cap hit next year, whether he's on the roster or not. Right. And so it'd be really tough to bring Tua in and pay him because you still have that, unless they did some really creative financing where they're like, oh, we're giving you $1 million this year, and then everything is backloaded cap wise. Obviously, they could do something like that. It's what they'd have to do if they kept Dak. So, I mean, there's a path they could do that with. But with your offensive line, Tua would get murdered.
Hell, he's getting murdered now, even over in Miami, though. Look how many concussions he took. The first one, and then, of course, the second one he had. But
yeah.
Yeah. Tua is like Troy Aikman. I mean, Troy Aikman had like 8 or 9, I think, concussions before he finally called it a career. And I think Tua's up to like, 3? I think he's got 3 concussions now or something like that.
Well, he had 3 in 1 year. I think he actually has 4. So
yeah, he's already halfway to what Aikman had in his whole career. Like just a couple of seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's nuts. That's crazy. I mean, not to even mention his hip. He obviously had that hip surgery or those hip issues. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely an injury liability for sure.
You already have one of those on the roster in Trey Lance.
Well, we do.
I mean, he's played on average 1 game a season. That's not great.
Yeah. It's honestly really not, and Dallas really needs to think what they're going to do with Trey Lance. I mean, do you just let him keep sitting in the wings and do nothing? Or, I mean, you obviously traded for him for some reason.
Well, they got him for nothing, and he was a
former. Yeah, no, they got him for nothing. But I'm just saying, but you obviously thought he had something in him to trade for, right?
Well, everybody saw potential in him. Right? Even when he got drafted, you looked at him and you're like, okay, this guy has some potential. I like what he could become. The problem is he isn't becoming it because he's injured all the time. Now for Dallas, it makes sense because ultimately you gave up a bag of Ruffles that's already open and stale for a guy that, is injury prone, but it doesn't cost you anything to have him on the team.
Right.
Moving forward, I can't imagine how that contract negotiation goes because what kind of value do you have in a guy that, on one hand, he was a first-round pick, but on the other hand, he plays 1 or 2 games a year.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. But at some point, you have to develop him or what do? You just let him sit there and ride the third string forever? I mean, he's just occupying space if you're not really going to do anything with him.
Yeah, but
or to try to develop him and do anything with him.
Your third quarterback is generally occupying space.
Right.
It's one of the prime example of this. I had on Fridays I have my show called Hawk Talk, right? And we're talking all things Seahawks. And one of the questions I got during that show was, do I think PJ Walker, who they signed, makes an impact? And my response to that was, I hope not, because there's a lot of things that have to go wrong for your third string quarterback to make an impact. So he better not make an impact, or obviously we're going to have a really bad year. And I feel the same with Trey Lance. I mean, maybe he's a third option.
Yeah.
But, if he's their idea of a third option, then you don't want to see him.
But you know what, though? But a lot of people wrote off Geno Smith to the point where I thought the guy was out of the league. I didn't even realize he was still in the damn league until he came over to Seattle and took over for Russ. I mean, my point is this. I mean, if you can resurrect Geno's career to a point where now he's a starter of the Seattle Seahawks, at some point, somebody should be able to hopefully, either reinvigorate Trey Lance, or maybe Trey Lance just doesn't have it, and then you just cut sling note of him, and there's nothing to do with him anymore, like Ryan Leaf or whatever.
Yeah. So I think the main difference there is more of, in Geno's case, he was backing up really talented guys,
right?
But he was always available. I think the big thing with Trey Lance is he's always injured. I could make more of a parallel for Sam Darnold having resurrection like Geno than I can for Trey Lance, because Trey Lance is just so injured that he may never actually get his opportunity because he just can't get on the field.
Right.
Whereas, when it comes to Sam Darnold, he had bad play. It got him benched. He's moved around. He could potentially have a resurrection type year with the Vikings because they do have weapons over there. So I can make some parallels for Darnold more than I can for a guy like Trey Lance.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, okay. Well, I guess the Cowboys got to figure out something, though. I mean, do you let go of Dak and elevate Cooper to the starting spot and move Trey Lance up to the second spot? I mean, if you're not going to pay Dak or try to keep him, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it almost sounds like, even if they, like you were saying a minute ago, even if you were to trade him, you're still responsible for that $60 million cap hit, regardless of whether or not. So it almost seems like, from what your point was, they might as well just keep him and pay him.
Yeah, I mean, if
and
you keep him,
figure out what they're going to do with all the other guys at some level.
Well, and if you keep him and pay him, say you sign him to a 5-year, right? Then you can break up some of that cap hit and move it around and
backload it.
Yeah, like you can, which is what they did last time, right? They backloaded it, which is why it's a $60 million hit next year. So, man, I don't know. The path forward for the Cowboys is shaky. I mean, it really looks like they should just ultimately trade their big names away and blow the thing up and start over, because you're also going to get new coaching next year.
Right.
I mean,
let's face it. I mean, you already put up a whole list of people that are getting paid $50+ million, way more than what Mahomes is getting. But yet, none of those teams are doing anything, right? I mean, they're not getting to the Super Bowls. They're not winning the Super Bowls. They're just, they're just paying their quarterback 20% of their cap space. Yeah, so I mean, the same position that the Cowboys are in, there's a lot of other teams that are in the same damn position, because they paid their quarterbacks way beyond what they're really worth.
Well, and they're overpaying guys that haven't performed.
Right.
If Mahomes was making 55, you look at that and be like, fair enough, right? Daniel Jones getting 40 was wild. You're just like, okay,
that is wild.
Season, and you weren't even the reason why you had a good season. Saquon is why you had a good season.
Right.
So then you move on to a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who has mostly been kind of a turnover machine and really hasn't played great. He's been okay, right? He's been above average, but not awesome. We're not talking MVPs or anything like that. So if he's getting 55, that means Tua's going to get something similar. And so then you move on to Dak, who was in the MVP conversation last year. I mean, if you're the Cowboys, the way you're looking at Dak right now is, because when you look at this next year's draft, there's no quarterbacks that you're going to get, and there's only 2 of them anyway. And I don't love either one of them on top of it. So, I mean,
Right.
it's not like you're in line to get an awesome draft pick at the quarterback position. So now you're looking at Dak, who clearly has all of the leverage in this situation. Is, yeah, you don't want to pay him more than 60, but that's the market now because you're paying average guys 55.
Right.
So, I mean, man, and 60 million on what is the salary cap now? Like 235, somewhere around in there.
I
Like,
thought
I
it
don't
was in
know
the
exactly.
250s.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere right in there.
Like 250 or 255 because they just raised it up. So I think it's like 250 or 255.
Yeah, I wish Chris was in the comments. I could have him look it up.
Hey, real quick, since we're talking, I know we got about 10 or 9 minutes left in the show.
Yep.
I want to go back to the Chiefs just for a minute. And I was saying online today where, obviously, Rice had his legal issues, I believe down with that traffic accident down there in Dallas and all that, that came with that. And now you got their defensive lineman Bugs, who now has had his second arrest on domestic violence and robbery and stuff. It seems like the Chiefs are getting a lot of bad publicity off those two guys alone. I think Rice, he might. I mean, he's got 8 charges against him. What do you see for either one of those two guys? I mean, is Bugs? Are they going to let go of him? Are they going to let go of Rice? Or are they going to try to keep of them? What do you see with that situations?
Well, the thing is, this is the NFL, and so they don't really care about those types of things. There's very few run-ins with the law that get you out of the league, right? If you kill somebody, fair enough, you're going to jail, right? If it's domestic violence, it'll only get you out of the league if there's video of it. Everything else kind of gets swept under the rug. If you were the 50th guy on a 53-man roster, you're off the team. You're not worth the effort. But if you're a high talent guy, and Rice is, right? So he will, even with all those charges, even if he gets suspended for half a season, however that shakes out, there's a really good chance he's still in the league. If he wasn't an upper end, a high end player, like a higher, like top third of the league kind of guy, he's probably out of the league. But because he has that level of talent, he didn't do anything that makes you think that the league would get rid of him. The league really only cares about things that have video evidence, things that are going to land you in jail long term, or anything that damages the brand. So if you're that's why gambling has such an unrealistic, suspension policy versus when you see domestic violence. If there's domestic violence and there's not video of it, nothing happens to the guys. They're just like, oh yeah, I don't know. But because Ray Rice was going to still be playing until that elevator video came out. That's what.
And then nobody wanted to touch him, even though he was allowed to come back in the league. Nobody was touching him. Like he was blackballed. He was done.
That one was so egregious. There was no way you could do it.
Oh,
but, But
I
if you
agree.
remember, that video didn't come out right away. So nothing was really coming of it. They're just like, oh, yeah, domestic violence, no big deal. Kind of used to seeing it, whatever. And then the video comes out and it ends his career. But prior to that, it wasn't damaging the brand and, nothing had really come of it up to that point. And so he was still going to get a play. It wasn't until there was something video-wise that was going to damage the brand, right? The only thing the NFL cares about is protecting the shield. And as long as whatever you do doesn't hurt that, they don't care.
Yeah. By the way, so it's $255.4 million. So it's an increase of $30 million per team. So so
255, right? And if you got 60 of that, right, you got 20% of your 20% of your cap to one dude. It's tough to build a team that way.
Yeah.
Especially if you turn around and give one of your receivers, $30 million a year too, right? Because he's going to be somewhere along where Justin Jefferson.
Oh, absolutely. That Justin Jefferson contract just elevated everybody.
Absolutely. And it made sense for the Vikings because they have a rookie quarterback. They're going to get to weather that for the next 5 years. So provided he becomes that guy. But that allows you to pay other positions because you're not going to pay a quarterback. In this case, you're trying to pay a quarterback. You're trying to pay a all-pro defensive guy. You're trying to pay an all-pro receiver. I mean, there's just not enough money going around. If you have those three guys, you have like $20 million to pay the rest of the team.
Yeah. Well, the Minnesota thing, if McCarthy pans out or Darnold really pans out and they do extremely well, then the Justin Jefferson will come back to haunt them a little bit because they'd have to pay that quarterback. God knows whatever he's going to want if they do well.
But Jefferson's deal will be up by then.
Yeah. Well, how long was his deal? Was what, 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's 5 years. Almost all of it is front loaded though.
Okay.
So, and only because they're not paying the quarterback position, because Darnold is on a 1 year deal. JJ McCarthy obviously was a first round pick, so he has the 5th year option. So by the time Jefferson's contract would be done, which would also, I think, put him over 30 years old. So it's not like he's going to get a second one of those.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see, man. It's it's fascinating to watch the financial gymnastics that these teams have to do.
I'll tell you what, though, I would not want to be the cap guy or, for the Dallas Cowboys. That's just got to be a damn nightmare. That's got to be a nightmare. Because how do you tell Jerry, Jerry, you can't afford all these people. So who are we going to cut? And then Jerry's like, cut. I'll cut you before I cut them. You better figure this out.
If you're that guy, you're looking at that and you're walking into Jerry Jones' office and you're like, it's cool. I'm just going to fire myself. It's fine.
Hey, here's my resignation. I don't want this crap. I'm going to go over to the Panthers.
Pretty much. The thing that's funny about them is they have a horrible team and they have cap problems.
The only cap guy that probably breathes easy is the guy that's out there in Chicago because they got so much damn cap space. It's probably unbelievable.
They do.
Between that and the number of draft picks and stuff, he's loving life right now.
Yeah, for the next couple of years anyway. Although they better win some games because if they don't, everybody gets fired anyway.
Oh yeah, they're going to go there and clean house. Eberflus needs to be the first one to go. I'm really surprised.
How he kept his job. Eberflus should have been fired. When you're looking guys like Vrabel and Eberflus keeps his job, like what is even happening in the league right now?
Oh yeah.
Before we get out of here, what do you think happens? Because McCarthy's obviously you guys aren't winning the Super Bowl, and that's the only thing that would have kept him his job.
Right.
So do you bring someone in from the outside, or is Zimmer your guy?
I hope and pray they bring somebody from the outside. I really do. I hope and pray. But
I feel like
I am a realistic person, and I do understand how the Cowboys work. So you know what I think would happen? I think McCarthy's done. And I think Zimmer is going to probably get it. I think that is a highly thing because it's a very Jerry Jones-like thing to do.
Well, and they have a working relationship. I find it as an interesting situation. But I guess we'll see. Man, I don't know. It's enjoyable because the Cowboys usually have obnoxious fans, so it's kind of fun to watch them, on fire a little bit. But
we've been on fire for 30 damn years. Stop it! Somebody put
I'm just
for crying out loud.
I'm just bringing that second bag of marshmallows. We're going to let this thing burn. Other than that, if you've been watching today, thanks for tuning into Coast and Coast. If you are on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps all of our channels out. And then, of course, if you are watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour for your next hour of programming. Other than that, we will see y'all tomorrow.